Hey everyone, welcome to the Camino Cafe podcast. I'm Lee Brennan, your host. I'm a pilgrim. I started walking my first Camino in 2019 and I fell in love with the Camino. It changed my life, so much so that I actually moved to Santiago and I'm really enjoying living here. Right now I'm walking up to the plaza. You can see the cathedral. What a beautiful sight. This interview today is with Thomas Batten, and what a beautiful conversation he and I had. I really enjoyed getting to hear about his very first Camino back in 1989. It really surprised me. You know, that doesn't seem all that far back, but boy, the Camino was different then. We also talked a lot about grief processing and all the changes you go through as you walk and continue to go through after your walk. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And you know what? I would really appreciate it if you would just take a minute to give the podcast a 5-star review. This helps other people be able to find the podcast when they do a search. And it just helps me be able to get out these great pilgrim stories that we're sharing here at the Camino Cafe. Thanks again for being here. Let's get to today's interview. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing really well, especially to be with somebody who has such appreciation and love for the Camino.
Ditto, ditto. So just so everyone knows, Brad reached out to me and was talking to me about the 8 Caminos that he's walked. And of course, that fascinated me because I'm really have a lot of strong interest in people that walk multiple times. And being the Camino geek that I am, of course, I'm always interested in every single Camino that someone walks. So we'll be talking about that. And you're an author, so we're going to talk about that. So let's start with, so your first walk was, I think you said over 30 years ago? Is that right?
1989. Yeah.
1989. So how did you find out about that? Because I don't think the movie The Way out at the time, right?
No movies, very few books, but there was one book. It was I read it actually at the first place I heard about it. I was reading a book review in a Toronto newspaper. I lived in Toronto at the time.
Yeah.
And the book review was a book called A Hug for the Apostle by Laurie Dennett, a Torontonian woman.
That's really good.
So I think she walked probably in 1984, 85. She wrote the book. It came out in 86. I just saw the book review. That's all I saw. I was two paragraphs in, and I just said, I'm going to walk that sucker, right?
What was it about the review? Do you remember what caught your eye about it?
Not really. Just wow. Okay, there's a backstory to why. Okay. The backstory would be, why does one say yes to this thing?
Yes, why?
Whether you see it, yeah, whether you see it in a film, you read it in a book, a history book, why do you say yes to such a crazy idea? And especially her book, she walked from Paris, right? So she did the whole thing. Now, I had been in Europe 5-6 years earlier in the Le Puy-Cahors area, but I didn't know about the Camino. But I've been hiking on and off the GR65, which is the Camino, but I didn't know it was the Camino.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know. I had none of the history. But why does one say yes? That's the question. And so I'm going to get a bit of backstory because I notice, you know, your space here, you allow a lot of space for vulnerability. That's what the Camino is. It's a vulnerable experience with ourselves, sky, earth, you know, the whole thing. Footsteps, sounds, bells, food, people, conversation, communion. You know, it's a walking community, communion. But again, why do I say yes? The backstory is that when I was 19, my best friend, more like a brother, he was murdered, and he and his brother, his twin brother, a bunch of us, we were next door neighbors. We knew each other since we were 0. We grew up together. We did everything together. It was a very tight-knit group of friends in the neighborhood. And this murder basically broke us all wide open. just
Wow.
kind of destroyed us. It was totally unheard of in our neighborhood in Toronto, the 1970s. This was 1978, summer of 78.
Wow.
Uh, we just all fell apart. For me, the falling apart, I just sort of descended into this world that I had absolutely no idea existed. This grief
Mm.
world. I was 19. I just graduated
How do
from
you
high
handle
school.
grief at 19, right? I can barely handle it at my age, right?
Yeah,
19.
me too. Although I guess I'm a little more versed in it now. But um, it was like I fell into a world that was like those ancient maps where there was parts of the maps that they didn't fill in because they kind of said we don't even know what's out here, but don't go out there,
Mm.
because it's brutal. It's beware. There's probably tigers and lions and bears, and just don't go there.
Right.
But grief says you got to go there. You
Mm-hmm.
have to go there. If you don't go there, well, bad things will happen.
Exactly.
Now, for me, a couple of things happened as a result of his immediate death. Is that I had to do two things. I had to write a letter to God. It was kind of a
Mm.
childlike, sweet letter on behalf of my friend, whose name was Christopher. I had to write a letter of gratitude and thanks for Chris's life in my life, and asking God to take care of Chris.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Second thing I had to do, then I had to also bury that letter in the ravine where we played as children.
Mm.
Um, and where this ritualistic idea came from, no idea. It just
Were you
arose.
normally ritualistic like this at
No.
that age?
Well, as a kid, we used to take dead birds and squirrels and put them in shoe boxes and have little funerals and bury them in the front lawn. So we kind of came up with our own ritual. But no, I was not ritualistic in a conscious way, in an
Okay.
overly aware way. The second thing I had to do, not only write the letter, bury the letter, I had to go to a church and pray for Chris, and it had to be a Catholic church.
Mm.
The key there is that I was not Catholic.
Got it.
And I was nothing. I was
Okay.
nothing. I was raised non-denominational. I knew about Catholics. I knew about Protestants. If anything in my neighborhood, we weren't supposed to have anything to do with the Catholics. They were the
Okay.
bad guys. We were the bad guys. It made no sense to me. That's the way the world was in the 60s.
Christopher was Catholic?
Christopher was not Catholic.
Oh no, but all of a sudden you had this feeling
Nobody
you
was,
had to go
nobody
to a
was,
Catholic church.
nobody, but I had to go to a Catholic church. I don't,
Wow, interesting.
I obviously had some image of, it. Maybe it was just from an historical point of view. The little I knew there was a Protestant Reformation, so I knew there was a split, and I had a feeling the Catholic Church went back, 2,000 years as opposed to 400 or 500 years. If I knew
Mm-hmm.
about the Coptic Church at the time, I probably would have gone to the Coptic Church because it's older, but I didn't. Right?
Okay.
So I wanted some lineage, but this is not very conscious, but that was the yearning within me. I got to get into a lineage.
Okay.
So I had a friend who was Catholic, and I asked her, "Will you take me to church?" And she said, "Yeah." So we went and buried the letter in the ravine, and then we
Mm-hmm.
went to church. I went into mass, not even knowing it was called mass, actually. And I sat there. It was Labor Day weekend, 1978. We sat in the back of the pews. It was full. It was beautiful, sunny. Well, I don't know what happened in there. The procession, the color, the pageantry, the incense, the candles, the singing, the communion, the words, the up and down, the whole ritual was kind of a dance. It was totally foreign to me, but I was just there to pray. And pray I did. I didn't know what it was, but I sat there. I didn't take part in the other rituals. I didn't go and get communion or anything. I didn't even know about that. I listened to the words and I was going, "What's happening up there? Take my body and take this wine. And what is this all about?" And the through him and with him, the whole in him, like in him. But I was quietly kind of blown away by it all. And she wouldn't let me kneel because I wasn't Catholic. So I got to sit and I got to see all the people and feel all the experience. And then the prayers happened and I was able to pray and give thanks for Christopher's life and my life and the gift of his life. And I was just sort of quietly rearranged there. It was if reality kind of, the grief and the death in this experience, it was if reality kind of put its hand on my head, and whatever path I was walking down before that, reality kind of shifted me and said, reality kind of marked me a child of God and said, see that path there, buddy? That's the one you're going to walk.
Wow. I love your term of rearranged.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Rearranged, realigned, like
Realigned, rearranged. That's very interesting for the path. That's interesting word.
Yes. Yes.
So how from there to, so that was in 78 and then in 89.
Yes. So
you read this review.
Right. And that's the yes back then to that path. The path that I was ranged on, that's the path I'm walking down. That's the path I was living for 8, 9, 10 years. There's a lot in between. I started doing religious studies. I went in deep into the Catholic mystics and the Christian mystics. And that's when I started seeing the language, hearing the language, feeling the language that made sense to the experience I had in the church and around the grief. So that's the yes. 1987, I go, that's the path. That path will be maybe similar to this path that I've been on and the one that I felt interiorly. Not literally, but it felt like an extension of that. And it felt an extension of the gratitude for Chris's life. And, his name's Christopher too, Christ bearer, and Saint Christopher, caring. Because I always felt like after his death that in this life, I was carrying him and he was carrying me in wherever he was. So I always felt like we were together.
Well, I'm sorry you had to experience that. That had to be, I can only imagine how tough that was at 19. It's fascinating how that led you now, though, to this rearrangement. And then in 89, you decide to walk. So in 89, I want to get into how different was the Camino in 89 compared to the last time you walked. So take us back to 89. Where did you start?
Started in Cahors. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Sorry, French people. Cahors, Cahors. It's on the Le Puy route. It's about 2.5 weeks or so from Le Puy.
Okay.
I had been in that area, as I mentioned, in 1983, hiking around and traveling, but I didn't know about the Camino because I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about Catholic stuff, right? But now I did. So I chose Cahors because I was familiar with the area. And about 4 months before leaving, a friend of mine, he said, "Can I come?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Right? So the two of us set off, and he was a priest. So the two of us set off in 1989 in June, early June, and we started in Cahors. And
where did you walk to?
Sorry?
And where did you walk to from there?
To Santiago.
You went all the way to Santiago. How many kilometers or miles was that?
I think it was about 1,600 kilometers. I'm sorry, I'm a kilometer guy.
All right. Okay. Oh my goodness. So
it took 2.5 months, 3 months.
Whoa.
And he and my friend only came for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then I carried on.
Wow. So when you decided to do this, you really, this was no small feat. And back in 89. So let's tell our viewers, I think the last time that you've walked
2018
was 2018. Yeah. So could you do for us just a little comparison? If you had to say the 3 top, I'm gonna keep you to 3, but let's say 3 things that were markedly different from 89 to 18, like the walking. I know you may not have walked the same exact path, but if you did. Oh, you did. Okay.
I've always done the Frances.
Always done the Frances. Okay. So if you had to come up with 3 things that really stood out to you? It was like, wow, you know, if you had only walked in 89 and only walked in 18, how were they different?
Oh, well, off the top of my head, obviously, the crowds, people, you know,
Crowds.
the number of people. Like in France, we met nobody, nobody whatsoever. Not until we got to Roncesvalles did we see about 10 or 20 other people.
Wow.
Um, and then it would be like 30 to 40 people per, I call them Camino clouds
Okay.
between villages. So there might be 40 people up in the section ahead and you're 40 people and the 40 behind, if that. So
Okay.
the amount of people, the infrastructure is completely through the roof now. I mean, back then, you know, there was very few albergues, if any at all. Sometimes people's houses are barns or tents or school rooms on floors. I slept in a dentist's office one time on a
Hold
floor.
on. A dentist office? I've never heard a dentist office. How
Yeah,
did that happen?
that was the only place that would take us in Mulinaseca. A guy offered us a floor. There was four of us, five of us, and he offered us a floor in his office. So we slept on the floor in his dentist's office.
Okay, wait a
Uh,
minute. So you're in Molenseca, and what, you knock on this door, or how did
yeah,
that even
yeah.
come
You
about?
ask around. You ask around. Yeah, you ask
You
around.
ask around, because you're walking through here. There's not, at this point, there's no albergue. There's no like an intentional place you know you're going to stay. So
Oh,
you just literally are walking through here.
yeah, yeah.
You see a dentist office, and you knock on the door.
I think one of my companions met somebody in a bar, and they said, "Oh, we'll talk to Jose over there." And Jose said, "Yeah, I'll go to the." It's sort of word of mouth like that, and we got a place.
So you slept
Um,
on the dentist office's floor.
yeah, no, with a sleeping bag and a mat. Yes.
Wow.
In Osabreo, we slept in the Payosa. There was no Osabreo. There was no cafes. There was nothing up there. It was just the church and the one sort of the hotel, whatever it is, next to the church.
Yeah.
That place was full with, well, we couldn't stay there. And plus at that point, there was probably 40 of us. And we slept in one of the Payosas on the way out of town, just down the hill. Literally, those little, all those fancy places you see now that are cafes and restaurants and laundromats, right?
Yeah.
Were just empty barns, basically, the Payosas. You go in and there was just hay on the floor. We slept in there, no electricity, no running water. There was a well outside. And we drank from the well and cleaned from the well, and slept in the Payosa with no lights. And yeah, yeah.
Okay, where did you
Sorry?
where did you get food if there were no cafes? What did
I
you do?
had back then you had to carry tons of food. You had to carry a lot of food with you. You had to carry food and water. You had to be prepared at least, 2 days ahead.
Two days.
You had to have 2 days worth of food in your bag. Yeah, for sure. And water. Water you could find. But you had to be fully prepared. Yeah.
And so if we could have seen you in a photo from 89 versus a photo of what you wore in 2018, how did your clothing change in your backpack and
Oh, well, everything was cotton back then. None of this fancy tech gear that weighs
right?
nothing like a feather. I had cotton shirts, cotton pants, the backpack was fine. They were pretty advanced. Uh, I had two pairs of boots. I had Birkenstocks, long pants. Everything was pretty heavy. I had like a beach towel. So,
What do
yeah.
you think your backpack weighed in
Oh,
89?
I think it weighed more than I did. Right? No, it certainly wasn't 10% of my body weight. It certainly wasn't that. I
And
did
by
get.
18, were you able to get it down to 10%?
Oh yeah, now I'm light as a feather. Like now I worry I don't have enough, right? Now I'm a complete pro. Like I just I put a napkin in there and I'm gone.
No.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. The
So
other
number of people,
Yeah,
infrastructure's completely different. And then
yeah.
what would be your third?
What would you guess it would be? What are we doing right now?
The information out there.
But
The,
the phone.
you didn't have a phone. You didn't
No,
have a computer.
no. No, the
Did you
phone
use an old-fashioned map,
had a
like
very
paper map?
a very poor old-fashioned map. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So 89. How well would you have said that the trail was marked in comparison to 2018?
Not very well marked at all. I think the yellow arrows, I think they were just starting. I don't even remember yellow arrows in '89. Maybe they were there, few and far between.
Yeah.
Um, no, you were following footprints, basically, other people's footprints.
Wow. Wow. I
So
can't even imagine. I can't
it was
imagine doing this.
it was marked, but not like it is now, and not like now you can be walking along and some guy with a cafe 10 kilometers down the road has put an arrow to go
Right.
there, right? And you go off and you think you're going on the Camino and you go to a cafe and you got to come back, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that should not be allowed.
No, that should not be allowed at
The
all.
only people that should be allowed to use the color yellow with an arrow or a shell
Yes,
would be
yes,
the Federation.
yes.
Yes, because that can throw you off. All right, so the last time you walked was 2018, and of course
Right.
we've all lived through this lockdown.
Yeah.
Have you planned out another walk, or how are you feeling
I,
about things?
I'm thinking maybe in 2 years, see
Until
how
you,
the post-COVID world pans out, and a lot of people seem to be hungry to go on the Camino right now.
yes.
It's sort of its own church, sort of its own outdoor church.
Mm,
It's this sacred space that's created by thousands of years of history and ritual and people coming and going and sharing stories. It takes on a whole sacred capacity of its own.
yes.
People speaking from the sacred to the sacred, sharing the sacred. So I think there's a hunger in our world right now for that kind of connectivity and authenticity and embodiment. People talk about it being kind of a transcendent experience because we're stepping out of our lives, but it's profound. It's not. It's transcendent, yes, but it's profoundly immanent. It's profoundly rooted and embodied and ensouled. I mean, we're getting down to the dust of our being, really, walking that thing, sweating and crying and moving through all the stuff that we move through on that thing. It's a complete, vulnerability
Yeah.
in a way that we don't normally get. We don't like complexity. We fight
Like more
off.
vulnerability.
Yeah, we fight both of those things off. We build
Yes.
big buildings and walls and cars, and we'll drive through it, and then we're get out there, and it can be a challenge for people.
Well,
Uh,
let's go back to 89 because now you're walking the first time. And I think when you and I think we had some exchange about how at the time when you reached out to me, you thought I was still living in Ravenel.
yeah,
So we kind of talked a little bit about that. So can you take me back to Ravenel, Fonse Baden, and then you get to Cruz de Ferro, because we love to talk about Cruz de Ferro
yeah.
here at the Camino Cafe podcast. And I'm guessing you have some stories there every year, but let's talk about that first year, what that was like, and
Sure.
where did you sleep in Ravenel? Because now there's albergues there now,
Yes, there's
and
albergues
guest
there.
houses.
It's like a Best Western now, Ravenel, compared to what Ravenel, as far as I remember, was pretty much a ruin.
Yeah.
The main road was not cobblestone that you could get up and down easily. It was rocks and boulders. I don't think cars could drive it. There might have been that one restaurant that's across from the church and the English albergue, that
Mhm.
little thing, but it was a dark, soupy place. Like you went in there and I felt like I was stepping back 10,000 years. It was like
Wow.
it was like from Game of Thrones or something like that. And I don't know that the English albergue was there. I don't know when it opened. If it
Yeah, I
was
don't know either.
there,
Pilar, Alberga Pilar though was open, and
'89.
I don't know, because I think she's been in business, or the family's been in business 29 years. Might not have been when you did that
Yeah,
first.
we were told to go to the top of the village, and we slept in Red Cross tents there.
In Red Cross tents.
Yeah, at the top of the village where there used to be a
Yeah.
fountain. The fountain's now bricked up, but we
Yeah.
were put in Red Cross tents, and we again had the fountain water to clean ourselves and to drink from. There might have been a store to shop in, but the place was beaten up. The church, Santa Maria, Santa Maria,
Yeah.
it was a ruin. The monks hadn't arrived yet. I think
Oh,
they came. I think they came in the mid '90s, early 2000s.
yeah, I'm not sure what that year was.
Yeah,
Okay, so curious minds, I know are going to want to know this, that have, for those folks who have read Shirley MacLaine's book, right? And there's this whole thing about wild dogs and Fonsabaton, right? Like I was almost scared to walk through
yeah.
after reading that, right? But it's changed so much,
And she was there.
now.
She was there after '89.
Yeah, so she was there after 89, right? So what was it like for you walking through there? Do you remember that area? Was it remarkable in any way that you recall walking through that?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say this, but there was no wild dogs. But
Oh, no wild dogs. I know. See, no one's been able to
um,
verify the wild dogs.
yeah, now there might have been a dog. Um, uh, he might have
Definitely cats.
he might have been on a chain, but Fonsa de Bonoan was a ruin, an
Yeah,
absolute ruin.
it's
No, it
nothing.
was
Okay.
a total ruin. There might have been one shepherd living there. I mean, it was more of a ruin than Ravenel. Ravenel had a bit of inhabitants to it, and they had the
Right.
tents. But Fontenot was a place you walked by. Now, as for that walk, that section going to the Cruz de Ferro, the story back then for Pilgrim's End was that you picked up your rock in Fontenot,
Oh, I didn't
and
know
you
that.
and you carried it up to the Cruz de Ferro from there.
Oh,
That was the story I got. Nowhere
okay.
along the Camino did anybody say to me back then, "Hey, do you got your rock? Do you got your rock?"
Right.
That started happening in the 2000s sometimes. That's when I started hearing
Interesting.
people saying, "Hey, Brad, did you bring your rock?" And I went, "What rock? You get it in Fontainebleau." So I still stick to that. I still get my rock in Fontainebleau. But now
Excellent.
that, so back then, I have to say the Cruz de Ferro didn't have the weight that it does now.
Mm,
Now it
yeah.
has, again, back to that sacred quality. It's got this. It's almost as important as Santiago. That's the way I sense the way people address it now and carry their rocks, like Rocco was saying, carrying his grief, the
Yeah.
rock in the hand and putting it down. I know a lot of people that do that. They come with purpose and integrity and grief and mourning, the whole thing, or even joy and celebration. Most of my rocks are about that gratitude for the
That's
first time.
so interesting because I think if I were to pick up one in Fonsabaton, that probably would be more of a gratitude rock, right?
Yeah,
But
or
when you're carrying one that is supposed to
yeah,
represent this grief or whatever you got to
yeah,
lay down, right? It's
that's
a
right.
much heavier uh, rock that you're carrying until
Yeah,
you get there. So that's so interesting
yeah,
how
yeah.
it changed.
And I don't know where it changed, and I don't know how it changed. But even in '93, when I went in '95, it was still Fontainebleau. And in those 2 years, I was the one telling pilgrims, "You take a rock from here and you take it up there." So it was still, So I was now carrying the ritual and carrying the lineage and the information. That's what I love about the Camino. And that's why I like going back to
Mm,
tell these kinds of stories and to keep the lineage,
yeah.
alive
Oh
and
my
well.
gosh, you would be like the greatest pilgrim to run into along that trail, and to hear these stories, I would be eating them up. I
Yeah,
want to switch a little bit of a gear. I think this maybe is a good time for us to talk about this. So, for those that may not be familiar with you, you are a published author, and you have written a couple of books and a poetry book, and you actually have a book called Journey Mind, which we'll kind
right.
of start with, and that you're actually rewriting that. You were just telling me that there's going to be a rewrite of that because it's about a 30-year-old book, and you're rewriting it. It's going to have a little bit. It was maybe had a little bit of Camino in it, novel, but now it's going to be more Camino
Yeah,
oriented.
yes,
Um, and you mentioned that you might have a section to read about Cruz de Ferro. So I'm
yeah.
wondering if now might be a good time for
You
you to
want to
read
do
that.
that? You want to do
Yeah.
that? Okay. Yeah, the new old novel is called Pilgrim. Uh, so it's still the same idea as Journey Mind, a young man traveling around the world, spreading his father's ashes after a tragic accident. Um, so it's the same but different.
Okay.
I put more Camino. This section for the climb to Cruz de Ferro, it's going to resemble more than the 1989 experience. So
Okay.
it's a little more naked. It's a little more primal. Fontainebleau was abandoned then. So for people going, hey, the Fontainebleau doesn't look like that. Well, it did, right?
Got it. Got it. So traveling
So
back to 89.
yeah. So
Perfect.
I'll do the reading. It's just 3 paragraphs. It's short. I stand on the eastern slope of Montarago and look back over the long morning lowlands surrounding Lyon, through which I've walked, and then forward into the riding heights and snow-kissed ridges known to the Romans in their days of conquest as the mountains of Mercury. Up there, as a testament to their god of quicksilver and eloquence, they erected an iron cross, the Cruz de Ferro. The cross sits atop a 5-meter oak pole that stands against the heights, part beacon, part slash against sky, at an altitude of almost 1,500 meters. The pole is surrounded by a thick pile of dusted rocks and stones that have been placed at its base, one by pilgrims of the way. A rite of passage, the stones were carried up the hill from Font-Saint-Aubin along the winding road, its steep, its sharp traverse. Prayer stones which, when rubbed, give off a spark of unconditional light. Prayer stones that say, I am here, and I have been here 1,000 years waiting for you. If you are lonely and lost, lean into me, and I will show you a way through. Font-Saint-Aubin is a ruin of blue-gray slate roofs and rotting wood beams, shattered windows overlooking a valley precipice to the south, and a single bell tower through which the cold north winds pass. Morning light sifts through the abandoned village, as if combing back the hair of a corpse. Was it the winds that chased the inhabitants away, or a random demise, war or rumors of war, the Crusaders and the Moors, or the village well having lost its inner power? So many stories of abandon circle the village. The sky falls here as if into the point of a spear. Great birds of prey hover without moving their wings. It's here I must palm my sacred stone and gather up my secret prayers. I must climb and pass through the many shadow events I've sheltered along the way and the 70 lives of the forgiving heart. This path that is illuminated by a light which has traveled 1,000,000 solar systems to reach me at the ends of my fingertips. When I place my prayer stone at the foot of the iron cross, in the congregation of 1,000,000 other stones, I find my hands running the length of my body, divining places of water and wounding, well springs where my mind dips. What is hidden in yearning is lifted into the soft sheen of a midday sun. I hear the voice of my prayer stone whispering down through the generations. Lean into me, pilgrim. I am here for you and will be for 1,000 years to come.
Wow, that was really beautiful.
Thank you.
I really like the line of a spark of unconditional light.
Give off a spark of unconditional light. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then that last part, read that last sentence again about the I'll be here for you 1,000.
I hear the voice of my prayer stone whispering down through the generations. Lean into me, pilgrim. I am here for you and will be for 1,000 years to come.
Brad, I love that. Lean into me, pilgrim.
Yeah.
Lean
So
into me. I can almost just feel right now being at the base of those rocks.
Yeah. That's the lineage, right? I mean, each of us were carrying rocks up and leaving these crazy rocks, and then we're going, and the rocks are still there and being ground down into dust, and then more people are coming and adding, and it's quite remarkable when you think of it. It's like all these. I like to think of pilgrims as caterpillars. We're all caterpillaring along, and every now and then we have a butterfly emotional breakthrough or a psychological breakthrough. But the key thing about the caterpillar butterfly is the chrysalis and the dying that goes on in there, because that's the key to transformation.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what's happening.
Let's jump to okay, so 89. Let's look at 89. You arrive into the square at the cathedral.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine, because I was telling you as we were talking before we started the recording how busy it is now in Santiago. So, and what was it like for you coming in that first year in comparison to 2018 team when you came into the square or walked, come down that hill coming into Old Town, and how was it
Well,
different?
well, because it was the first time and I had no expectations. So I didn't know what to expect. Now, but I had walked for 3 months in the heat of the summer, the Meseta. It was a hard, vigorous, naked, exciting walk. So I was carrying all that, and I was carrying Christopher too. I was quite aware of that. The rock that I left in Cruz de Ferro back then was for Chris. So I was deeply cognizant of that, and also back then when you arrived on Monte Gozo, the trees weren't there. So when you came up, and nor was the statue to the Pope. Not, it was just a hill. It was just a green hill.
Oh,
Nothing.
you probably had a better view then if those trees.
Yes. So as soon as you came up, bang, you saw the cathedral towers, which is the way it was described since the Middle Ages, right? Anything you read about the Middle Ages, that's how you know you're there. It's 5 kilometers away. The road there was not a road; it was just gravel and dirt, and and that the albergue that's at the bottom of the hill, the giant, Howard Johnson's place or whatever it is. It wasn't there. None of it was there. So you see the cathedral, you're elated, you're sad, you're happy, you're all sorts of things. Now, also the tradition back then, which is gone now, and I wish it was still around, is that you walked the last 5 kilometers barefoot.
No,
So,
what? I've never heard that.
yeah, you see, it's gone. I try to reintroduce it every time I'm there.
You did it?
Yeah, I've done it every time except for the last time because I have rheumatoid arthritis now. It hurts a lot, but I'm okay. I'm in remission and it's not that bad. But
okay, that's some rough cobblestone, and
yeah.
and at that time, that first time you did it, and probably the first couple of years, you said you were walking in gravel, and
yeah, it was tough. You had to find rock to rock to rock, dirt to dirt to dirt. Once you got into Santiago, though, all the cobblestone roads, the bricks were perfect, so and they were cool. So you could kind of walk softly there. So without shoes, and now arriving the first time and coming down, and there was a bagpipe guy there. It wasn't this guy? Yeah, it wasn't this guy, but there was bagpipe music. Because this guy, I don't think he might be younger than me, but and there's probably a few guys anyways. So there wasn't the music. There might have been music coming from stores because that kind of happens. A little quieter. There were a lot at that point, so it was fairly celebratory and fairly festive. And again, I had no idea, what to expect. And as you know, when you get in there, you lose sight of the cathedral until you come to the side of it and go, oh, well, there it is. But
right.
Where's the front door, right? You actually see the Porta Gloria, the holy doors first, but you don't know that's them. And then you go through the tunnel, as you know, and you turn left and you go out, and bang, it's there.
Yeah.
And back then, also you could go in with your backpack, and you could go in with your bare feet. So we just went up the stairs. We basked out front for a while. Okay, yeah, but we're here for to hug the apostle, so to speak. So in we went, and barefoot, sweaty, dirty, loving it. I was full of emotion that I wasn't able to process, just feel. And also at that time, the column with the where you put your hand.
Oh, you got to touch it.
You got to touch it. That only stopped in 2009, I think, which I was very disappointed to hear about. But that I get it. But I think walking pilgrims should still be allowed to touch it. But anyways, that's another story.
We can't even get to St. James right now. We can't
no. Oh, okay. So there was that to happen, and I didn't really know. I can't remember if I knew that was happening, but I did it, and you feel this odd power. I mean, the whole thing has this. Well, which I mentioned, the lineage, the rocks. It has this sweeping sacred power, sacred space power that we all participate in and live in, and it's just walking communion. So that's all there in the stone and the and then went in, and mass was beginning. The Pilgrim Mass was beginning because we got there early, and the Botafumedo was swinging, because back then I think it was swinging all the time. I don't think you had to pay for it,
Mm,
or somebody was really generous.
yeah.
So it was the full experience, and the organs going, and
Wow.
and it wasn't too full. There was probably 30 to 40 of us walkers that arrived that day. The square was busyish. It was a Sunday, so it was a little bit busy, but not like now. Not
Yeah.
like now at all.
Okay, so I got to ask Brad a couple of things. One, did you take a camera? Did you have one of the? Okay, so no camera. You walked without a camera. I'm trying to imagine what it must be like coming into the square without everyone taking selfies or recording this for Instagram and Facebook and all the things we do now. I'm sure in 2018, a lot of that was happening the last time you walked.
Yeah.
It must change that experience, or I don't know, was it noticeable to you when life kind of shifted and we started recording every moment? I mean,
Mhm.
it's difficult now not to be taking a photo every couple of steps, right?
Well, yeah. What do I say about that? I don't take cameras. I don't take phones. I don't take watches.
Even in
Uh,
2018, no phone.
no, no. I just got a cell phone 2 years ago. So
What? Okay. When I asked you for a photo for this, you were like, I don't
I had
know.
to, I had to
And you
ask
found
I had to ask a friend,
you had to ask a friend out.
and she said
That's incredible to me, because I mean, literally, Brad, myself, almost everybody I walk with, we probably have, I don't even know how many selfies, let alone on the Camino, along with group photos and
the
everything.
thing, the thing about the camera.
I'm kind of envious because you've had this experience. So I'm going to say I'm envious of that. Two, I don't know if I'm as tough of a pilgrim. I can't imagine walking in 89 the way you're describing it, right? Like, I'm kind of blown away that, you hear now modern pilgrim, it's like, don't walk through Burgos, that part or like that icky part out by the airport, just skip that, or
Yeah.
we complain about walking into the big cities. I mean, I've heard so many complaints about, not so much Santiago, but Leon, some in Burgos, that outskirts, it's all industrial. We complain. And here you were in 89, taking off your shoes and walking barefoot. Like, I'm a little humbled right now. I don't know, like, would I have walked again? And yet you came back. So you walk in 89. When was the next one that you?
93.
In 93. So
Yeah.
I don't know if others that listen to the podcast feel this way, and I don't know if I've ever verbalized this, but to me, the second walk is the toughest, because you know what you're about to do. Right? The emotional stuff that's bound to come up won't be the same stuff necessarily, but it's going to happen. You know that there's going to be challenges. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I kind of think it's the second, that third one, because you kind of know what you're stepping into. It's going to be a challenge in some way you didn't expect.
The second one, no, I didn't find it as challenging. I mean, I was more.
Well, not that the walk is challenging, but the bravery and the courage, I think, to say, yeah, I'm going to do it again.
Oh, okay. Well,
right? Because you already know, because you just walked for 3 months,
Yeah,
you know what you're stepping into.
yeah.
So to me, it's almost being naive is easier,
Mhm.
right? Like, we go and get all the information on Facebook, which you couldn't even do. So we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But the fact that you knew that you were getting ready to step into a challenging walk in some way, whether it be physical or emotional or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that takes even more courage, because when you're naive in 89, you don't even know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of where I'm coming from.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess it did. And I started in San Palais 2 or 3 days back from Saint Jean Pied de Port that time, because I thought, get 3 days to get your legs before you go over, because there was no middle stop then either. Where Orison.
No, Orison.
Yeah, Orison didn't exist. You went right over.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you went right over.
Was there a food truck? There was
what do they call them? Sheep. There was sheep.
Just the sheep. Just the farm was there at that time.
the sheep and the bells. Yeah.
Was the little shelter still at the top?
Yeah, that was there. Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you start in Saint Jean,
Mm-hmm.
you go up and over, and there's nothing until you get to Roncesvalles. And I think you said earlier when we were talking before recording, how many beds were there in Roncesvalles at that time?
It was pretty big. They just weren't all full. I never counted the beds. It was an old monastery. It wasn't the new fixed up place. So it was kind of a dorm with bunk beds, very wide open showers, cold water. Cold water was everywhere back in '89.
Hold on, cold water?
Yeah, but the big thing everybody always said when you arrived at places, agua caliente, agua frio. You know, if you got agua caliente, it was like, yeah, good. You know, so yeah, the second time was, I guess it was brave, but I was really just in love with the walk. I go to now I go to celebrate. Sure, I'm going to be working through stuff, and I've gone through lots of stuff in the last 30 years. You know, some hard stuff, some like anybody in life. Like
Life happens, right? Like every time we walk, there's something new.
yeah. So, but I guess I'm a little more prepared. I have a little mantra, which is open heart, open mind, be prepared. So walk with an open heart, an open mind, be prepared, which means be prepared for change. Be prepared to have your mind changed, your thinking changed, how you feel changed. Be prepared to be surprised by somebody, by grace coming and visiting in unexpected times. But keep an open mind and heart, even in the midst of tragedy, because this is no secret that I'm revealing, and I've heard a few people here say it. Life it's profoundly tragic, and it's also profoundly beautiful. Yes. And if we don't, and I think the artfulness of life comes from living in the tension between the two. And if we don't get there, the risk is we fall into the tragic, and we stay there, and we stay whatever, bitter, angry, pissed off, nihilistic, just kind of close like a fist.
Yeah.
The antidote is the beauty, the profound. I mean, we get to walk in this unbelievable cathedral of creation like all the time. Our very breath is the breath of God. I mean, like, what more do you want? So, but living in that tension, that's as I said, that's where the artfulness is. And also, at the same time, you can't just live in the beautiful side of things and just fly around like a butterfly and a bird and thinking everything's fine. It's got to be informed by both. But in that really potent, pregnant tension, I think that's where the art and the love of life happens, and where celebration happens, and where communion happens.
Yeah. So, Brett, one, I want to say that's a really great way to say that. And I wanted to say, so Brett, before you do this walk in '89, were you already kind of tough guy, like hiker? Like, were you, I mean, you're taking cold showers, you're blowing my mind, right? Like, you're taking cold showers, you're sleeping outside. Were you a wilderness guy before this?
Slightly. I've been I was a canoeist, a canoe tripper, and a hiker, but not across, great lands. And then, I mean, this is a bit of a jump, but yes, I was in shape. I was in good shape. I was active athletically. I was active with my mind. I had really strong meditation practice that I'd been cultivating since I was about 23 or 24 when I met a monk and when I was in university. I was introduced to a monk who taught me Christian centering prayer, and then that led me to Thomas Keating, and that led me to Thomas Batten, that led me to Meister Eckhart and the whole world of, anyways. So I had a lot of practices that weren't necessarily integrated. They were kind of separate, but I was slowly coming into integration, and the Camino certainly helped with that. So I was prepared. I didn't know about the cold showers, but the only, I don't know if it's a good thing, it was really hot. It was really, 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 really hot. In France, it was like 40 degrees, and we were going from tree to tree, So it was so hot that the cold water was great. You got clean.
I've never walked on that hot a day, so
Yeah, and you could go with the rivers too. We went in lots of rivers, in the Moulin Seca, all the time. Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
swimming and diving and all that.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about when you look at you as a person, your life, um, were there changes? Do you say this is Brad 2.0 after that 89 walk? Were there things that were different about you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did you transform?
Well, good question. I don't know how to answer that other than language is so inadequate, and we do our best. In a sense, back to my friend dying and being in the church, the Catholic Church, and taking it all in. In a sense, I've been trying to articulate that moment of grief, death, new path, and walking. I've been trying to articulate that ever since, and I'm trying to do it right this minute.
Yeah.
So, on a sort of a surface level, I certainly became more simplistic.
Mm.
A much more simpler life. Simplicity became sort of my mantra. Another passion of mine was environmental issues, so I got a job in an environmental group. I also got involved with the Catholic worker movement, opened a small, very humble Catholic worker of my own, just with room for 5 or 6 people. But that was sort of a result of the Camino experience, receiving all the hospitality, because hospitality was different back then. It came and went. Every now and then you'd get a pearl, and the next place you'd be like in a pig pen, right? so you didn't know what to expect, but that was part of the beauty.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have, but I do have a really sweet story. But well, anyways, I was changed in very quiet ways, very subtle ways, but also I felt like I was given a core vessel that I could live and move and breathe in, that felt sacred and felt safe and full of presence and divine presence, God's presence, that I knew was kind of always there. That even if I strayed, and even if more suffering came, or even more love or loss of love and relation, all that I had this place, the tension. I had the tension because I recognized the beauty and I recognized the tragedy early in life. Maybe I'm a kind of an old soul that way. So I knew that was there. As hard as it was many times, I knew I had that place. And that's what I would take to each Camino too. And by doing each Camino, you're deepening that place. So it's a meditative place, really.
Yeah.
It's a place of, well, it's sort of an empty place, but it's full. It's an emptiness that's actually very abundant, very generous. Not that I'm generous, but that the space is generous and abundant. And so now you're coming from a place of fullness in life, so that when tragedy does come at you, because it's going to, life's going to come at you 100 miles per hour all the time. That's the be prepared part.
Yeah.
But now you have some tools, which is really what spirituality is about your relationship to the world, and being able to, as experience comes at you, being able to integrate it and stay balanced and not get knocked over to the tragedy and get stuck there, and not get sucked up by the beauty and just kind of fly around all high. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because recently I interviewed someone that was saying something along the lines, but I really like the words that you're using here. And I do think sometimes, and maybe people think, oh, you're just walking again because you just done, and you're kind of addicted to it. Why do you keep doing this every year? And haven't you changed already? Haven't you transformed already? But I'm with you in that I think each Camino helps strengthen that within us, that inner resource, that knowing, so that when new things come our way, that hopefully we're a little stronger. Hopefully we are in a more resilient place to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
So each time I walk, while I am processing things that have happened, I'm also building strength and the knowing that I'm strong enough to handle
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I like how you said that. So I think, yeah, we are getting close to our time. So I want to just say two quick things. One, your new book release, the new title will be called So Journey Mind is Changing. The title will now be Pilgrim.
Pilgrim.
And if people are looking for it, how will they find it? About what time do you think that'll be published?
It should be out in September this fall. It'll be available on Amazon and the usual networks and from the publisher
So,
Freedom Press. Yeah. Yeah.
all right, let me know.
At the time when it comes out, I'll send you a copy and I'll
Perfect.
send you a link and all that fancy computer stuff.
All the things we do now. Yeah, yeah. And then I'm thinking, how about we end with your sweet story? You said you had a sweet story. You didn't know.
Well, I have a, okay, it's one of my favorite Camino stories. How much time do we have?
Let's do, can you tell it? Oh yeah, we're definitely at our time. So let's do, you think you can tell it like in a minute? Kind of, that's it?
In a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you do it?
If I go really fast, let's see. Oh geez, no, it's too good a story to do in a minute, but I think I
All right,
can.
let's do 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay. So this is in France where it's really hot, and I'm with my buddy, and we're walking, and we get to a village one day, and we sit down at noon, and it's just a small village, just a hotel. We have a little cafe, and I say, okay, we'll stay here the night. And back then, I was staying in a little boutique hotel because there was no places to stay. So I went in and asked the woman, can we have a room? And she kind of looked us up and down. We're dirty pilgrims. And she says, no, we got no room. And I see all the keys on the wall. And I said, what about the keys? She goes, no, there's people coming. You can't stay here. We're full. And I said, but we're pilgrims. There's been no pilgrims here for years. Just go away. So, okay. So we go away. We go to the local church, and I'm convinced that we'll find the priest and he'll put us up, because that's the stories I hear. A priest is supposed to take care of the pilgrims. We wait through the afternoon, and a car pulls up, and a man gets out, and he comes in, and he sees our backpacks, and he's got with the shells on them because we have the shells already. And he comes walking in, and he says, "What are you guys doing? You look lost." And I said, "Well, we're trying to stay in the hotel. She won't give us a room." "Oh, you need a place to stay?" "Yeah." He goes, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're walking to Santiago." And he said, "You're walking to Santiago? We haven't seen pilgrims walking through here. This is on the Lepuy route. We haven't seen pilgrims like, I don't know, forever.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in years." And I said, "Well, we are."
Here we are.
He says, "Well," and I said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm waiting for the priest." "Are you the priest?" He said, "No, I'm the organist." And he said, "But I can help you. Would that be good?" And I said, "Yeah." So he practiced on the organ. We listened. And then he said, "Okay, I'll drive you to the next village. I'll get you a hotel room. Then I'll drive you back here the next morning, and
Nice.
back to the route, and you can go on." I went, "Oh, okay." He drives us, gets us to the hotel, and then he says, "Can I come back at 7 o'clock and buy you a drink and introduce you to the mayor, and you'll get your stamp on your passport?" And, "Oh yeah, it's a small village." "Oh, that'd be great." So he comes back at 7, he buys us a drink, he introduces us to the mayor stamps our passport, and then he says, "Hey, why don't you come home for dinner with us? My wife has made a meal." He takes us back to his place. His wife's made this fantastic French meal. It's the middle of the summer. The stars are out. There's strawberries in the air. It's beautiful. We have this wonderful night. 4 of us just chatting, sharing stories. He built bridges. He was an engineer. His name's Ramon. He takes us back to the hotel. He picks us up in the morning, takes us back to the mayor's vineyard because he's also a vineyard guy. Mayor gives us 3 bottles of wine. Ramon takes us back to the Pilgrim route, the GR65, lets us out. I give him 1 bottle of wine because it's 3. I mean, it's more weight too, right? He's got tears in his eyes. We've got tears in our eyes. Like, my God, Ramon, you like saved our lives here today. And off we went. I told that a little fast, but there was more to it than that. But that was the experience back then. People were, if they were open to it, there is that hospitality aspect, which is really, that's the other side of the walker, right? The hospitality.
So beautiful.
I call that the Ramon story, and that's in the book. In the book, it's a bit different because the character's walking by himself. He doesn't have a friend with him, but I use his name. I use Ramon's name.
No wonder you kept coming back.
Right?
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, and wow. What an experience you got to have.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean, I was actually back in that area last summer,
Yeah.
driving around, and I went to that church, and I asked around about Raymond, but the woman, my French was terrible, and the woman didn't understand what I was saying. But I saw the village again. I went, oh, there's the hotel, and there's the church, and then I found the hotel where Raymond drove us to, but it was closed. It's all shuttered up, and okay, it's pretty sweet.
Oh, what great memories.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you told that. I love that
Yeah,
story.
yeah. I told him fast
This has
motion.
been so much fun. Thank
Yeah,
you for,
thank you. Yeah, I really
you know,
appreciate it.
I knew I had to talk to you when I heard, you know,
The,
that you've been walking for 30 years. I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
amazing. And
yeah.
thank you for taking us back there and all the way through all of your Caminos. And this has just been a really rich discussion, I think, about so many things. I've really
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
No,
Thank you
thank you
for,
very much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the space and the vulnerability. Thank you.
thank you for being vulnerable and being willing to come to the space.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you'll stay on, say
Okay.
goodbye officially, but I will just close out our interview and just say
Thank
to
you.
everyone, wow, I don't know. I think hearing this interview would certainly motivate me. It's giving me some new insight on walking my next one. And yeah, I hope that everybody's listening and watching, that you'll be here soon and get to have some of these rich experiences yourself. So thank you so much, everyone. Please come back next week. We'll have another great show and more pilgrim stories. And, you know, to me, this is just like what it's like when we're out walking. This is the stuff that happens. You hear this magical story, magical thoughts, and it's just beautiful. So if you like this sort of thing, come walk, or come walk again. Buen camino, everyone.
Buen camino.